Fort Worth Civic Orchestra is an ensemble of amateur musicians. For the past 42 years, we have enjoyed sharing our love of the masters with audiences from the Fort Worth-Dallas Metroplex. But something is missing from this picture. That's right. Women compose too. There are many great women composers who have added important works to the art of symphonic music. These women have persisted in a field that hasn't always welcomed them with open arms. Thankfully, society is recognizing and playing their not-so-well-known music. The Fort Worth Civic Orchestra had only ever performed music written by men. But that all changed when we decided to feature works by women composers at our 2019 spring concert. Marty Blessinger, head of the orchestra's programming committee.
So I think one of the main challenges of programming music by women is that often we don't know the music. We've inherited this musical canon, so the canon of the so-called great composers, and I think we often have a view that the music that we know and love has risen to the top because it's the best music of that era. And of course there's a reason that the music that we know and love has been presented over and over again, because it is wonderful music. But there's also a reason that the pieces we don't yet know and love have not been performed as much, and it often has nothing to do with the quality and so much to do with opportunity. And so women composers, for really up until the present day, have faced many challenges in having their music heard. It wasn't something that women were supposed to do, and often were actively discouraged to do. Even women composers who were my teachers spoke about the challenges they encountered as they were students.
At our 2019 spring concert, we broadened our repertoire to include the overture to Ethel Smith's pirate opera, The Wreckers, the Third Symphony by Polish composer Grażyna Bacewicz, and Joan Towers' Fanfare No. 6 for the Uncommon Woman.
The first composer was Dame Ethel Smith, who was a composer who lived in the late 1800s into the mid-20th century. She was a British composer and suffragette, and also she was extremely connected to the artistic elite of the day. So she knew Grieg, she knew Tchaikovsky, she was in the same circle as Brahms and Clara Schumann. So an artist who really was sort of deeply ensconced in that tradition, but also is someone who we haven't heard very much of. We also presented the music of Grażyna Bacewicz, who is a Polish composer. She was a violinist, a virtuoso. Much of her music is for violin, but she also wrote some wonderful chamber music and large-scale works. She was living in the middle part of the 20th century, so experienced so much of the turmoil of that century in her home country of Poland, living in Warsaw. And her music, I think, evokes some of that. And finally, we played the music of Joan Tower, who's an American composer, still alive and composing today, and of her generation, one of the most celebrated composers out there. She has won a Grammy Award, she was the first woman to win the Grawemeyer Prize, and her music has really changed over her career from sort of an earlier serialism and experimentalism of the mid-20th century to the music that we presented, which was composed only a couple of years ago, which is very accessible, very visceral, and I think really grabs the audience and pulls them into the piece.
So, what did the men in our audience think of the music composed by these women?
Yeah, so the little-known works, I guess, by the women composers, yeah, obviously I've never heard of them before, but they were very approachable, I think.
We are fortunate to live in a time where music by women composers is finally being recognized and performed. With this ever-expanding repertoire of music, the Fort Worth Civic Orchestra is making music that sounds like the world we live in.